Hello guys, I'm your host William and today we're going to talk about Hitman. This film tells the story of a ruthless hitman who tells a film producer about himself after being betrayed by the very man who created him, forcing him to fake his own death and flee to London. He joins a new gangster family and finds his rules put to the test once more in the midst of a vicious underworld power struggle. What is the betrayal-filled life story of this ruthless hitman? Let us investigate. A hitman is interviewed. An interview with a hitman is conducted. A film producer named Xavier, on the other hand, is on his way to a location where the man conceals a small gun in his sock. Xavier also appeared to be terrified because he was about to interview Victor, a professional assassin who would tell us about his life's journey, which Xavier intended to adapt into a film. Victor then tells the story of his childhood. Growing up in a slum in a remote district of Bucharest, Romania, Victor was playing with his friends when he was approached by two teenage boys who bullied him and demanded money from him. They then beat and threatened Victor because he couldn't give them what they wanted. I'm on my way home. Victor discovers his father being beaten and threatened by the local mafia, led by Sergey, because his father owes money. But Victor, who witnessed his father being beaten, was unconcerned because he despised his father, who frequently drank and gambled and treated his family harshly. Victor has no intention of repaying his father's debt. He simply wishes to be free of his. Sergey initially misjudged Victor and ordered one of his men to beat the boy. However, after witnessing Victor's courage and determination to get hired, Sergey decides to hire Victor as a debt collector, and Victor can begin work the following day. Then Victor witnesses his father abusing his mother. Sergey returns to Victor's father in the evening to collect his debt. But Victor's father is killed regardless, even though he tries to pay off his debt to Sergey the next day. Victor's mother received money and cigarettes from her husband. This meant that her husband died knowing his father had died. Victor didn't seem sad because his mother no longer had to endure harsh treatment as time passed. Victor, who works for Sergey, is becoming accustomed to the harsh environment of the gangsters and has mastered the use of weapons to the point where the young men who used to bully him are now beginning to submit to him. One of these days, Victor has been tasked with collecting a debt from a man named. When Anthony arrived, he kicked Victor out, thinking Sergey didn't respect him for sending a boy to collect a debt, unable to accept being belittled like that. Victor then murders Anthony and his wife, and is about to murder their two very young daughters, when Sergey and his trafficking boss arrive and arrest Victor. Following the incident, Victor was transferred to the city to work with traffic and his son Franco, who was his age. Victor is then placed under the $2 of Sergey, who teaches him how to become a hitman. Sergey teaches Victor how to destroy strong people by killing those they care about. In addition to preparation, wiretapping, infiltration, and elimination, Victor grew into a professional assassin with a long list of victims. Victor and Sergey are assigned to make drug purchases with Franco one night. However, for some reason, Franco attempts to murder David, the man with whom he made a deal, and Victor and Sergey are forced to support him in murdering David and his bodyguards. Unfortunately, the man who made the deal with them was the son of a notorious mob boss, and after learning that Franco had murdered David trafficking, he ordered Sergey to kill Victor as a scapegoat in order to protect his son. Victor returns to his apartment after the shooting and turns on the shower in the bathroom. When Sergey slips in, Victor, on the other hand, had been so well trained that he could anticipate Sergey's arrival and disarm him. They then sat down and talked about how they got to this point. The two men clearly respected each other, but Sergey explained that he was forced to kill Victor on trafficking's orders, even though he didn't want to. Sergey had no choice but to kill Victor or risk being killed himself. But, in the end, Sergey died at the hands of Victor, who appeared to be devastated by the death of Sergey, a man who had contributed the most to his life. Knowing that the Romanian mafia will not stop until he is dead, after faking his own death, Victor replaces himself with a body double and sets fire to his apartment. Victor begins a new life in London by relying on his gangster skills and experience to track down Raphael, a most wanted informant by the London mafia. Bass chose the name Tosca because the man intends to testify in a trial that will take place in the near future. It didn't take long for Victor to track down Raphael and bring him before Tosca, who told Victor that he could do a job that none of TOSAS men could. Kovacs, one of TOSAS men, accuses Victor of being an undercover cop and plans to murder him. Tosca then stops his men from killing Victor and instead hires him because he is impressed with his ability. A few days later, Tosca orders Victor to assassinate a British police officer named Charles, who frequently complicates TOSAS business due to his inability to be. Victor immediately took action after agreeing to the fee by visiting a coffee shop frequented by Charles. Victor kills Charles by pouring liquid nicotine into the man's coffee, which immediately causes heart failure and causes Charles to die. Tosca, knowing that Charles is no longer alive, invites Victor to a nightclub to celebrate his success. Kovacs, on the other hand, appears dissatisfied with Victor, who appears to be more concerned with Tosca. However, Victor and Tosca are ambushed in the middle of their journey, so they abandon ship, celebrating Victor's success, and rush back to headquarters. When Victor arrived at the base, he took one of the attacker's cell phone to investigate who was behind the attack. Kovacs then accused Victor of planning the attack. Tosca and Victor learn, however, from the attacker's cell phone that the attack was planned by Kovacs. Tosca then asks Victor to replace Kovacs after Victor kills Kovacs. However, Victor refuses. Victor decided to leave Tosca after many years of service. Victor discovers Martha has a while sneaking into her apartment. Victor, who still appears to have compassion, then tells Martha to go as far as she can because the mafia is after the woman. After faking Martha's death, Victor goes to a coffee shop where he sees some criminals approaching and harassing a woman. The criminals then kidnapped the woman, beat her, and attempted to rape her. Victor did not want to interfere at first and was about to leave when he heard the voice of the woman being beaten and abused and remembered his mother, who was frequently beaten and abused by his father. Victor changed his mind and was able to save the woman known as Bethesda. Bethesda handed Victor her business card and asked him to call her before boarding the taxi. Victor and Bethesda finally met again not long after, and they fell in love. Victor discovers Bethesda is pregnant after 6 months of making love. Victor becomes very unsure of himself after learning that Bethesda is pregnant with his child. But Victor eventually changed his mind and decided to start a new chapter in his life with Bethesda and quit his job. One night, a man breaks into Victor's house and attacks him. It turns out that the man is none other than Victor's childhood friend Cesar, who has discovered that Victor is still alive and is attempting to kill him on trafficking orders. Victor then returns to Bucharest, where he discovers that his mother died not long after he arrived. Victor also learns that the two bullies who used to threaten him for money when he was a kid have now turned into local mobsters, doing the same thing as Sergei. Victor then murders both of them for daring to take the money Victor had sent for his mother. Following that, Victor pays a visit to trafficking at a restaurant and inquires as to how trafficking discovered Victor was still alive. Victor's old friend, it turns out, Alexei, now works for Interpol, and after learning that Victor is still alive, he informs trafficking. And after a brief conversation, Victor shoots trafficking and flees the scene. Victor then goes to Alexei's office to find out why the man sold him to traffickers and also to murder him. After seeing a photo of Alexei with his family, Victor changed his mind. Victor then orders Alexei to bury the video evidence proving his survival and threatens to kill Alexei and his family if he breaks his promise. Finally, as the interview comes to a close, Bethesda appears and Xavier appears to recognize her. Victor then gave him a ring from Xavier's brother, indicating that he had been. Bethesda then tells the story of two young girls who were taken from their homes and sold to serve philanders. The weaker sister dies, while the stronger sister survives. Bethesda is the survivor who is strong. The interview was a ruse designed to make him believe he could resurrect his film career. When Victor is caught off guard, he shoots Xavier. Bethesda then took Xavier's gun and told Victor to sit with a gun pointed at him. Bethesda explains why she worked so hard to get to this point, where it has finally been revealed that Victor is the one who murdered Bethesda's parents when he first began his career as a hitman. So she purposefully attracts Victor, convinces him to kill Xavier, and then destroys. Before killing Victor, Bethesda informs him that the baby she is carrying is a boy, and that when the boy is old enough, Bethesda will show him the video of the interview so that the boy can learn what kind of man his father is and why he has hated him his entire life. And the story ends here. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe and activating bell for notification until the next video. Thank you so much for watching.